So, with Nigeria and the Christians being slaughtered there, I think it's a real shame that the news is acting like this thing that's common sense that we've always known for decades has been happening, that they're ignoring it and acting like it's not happening because Trump is the one who's president right now, who's saying he's going to do something about it. And all of a sudden, they went from talking about how all these Christians are being slaughtered to it's alleged. It's like, it's not alleged. This is not going through the American court system where when someone is innocent until proven guilty, even when you have footage of it. Alright, don't say alleged. Yeah, they're being slaughtered in Nigeria. We know this for a fact. My YouTube video from 2012 was removed from YouTube about 5 years ago because I was speaking to a Christian from Nigeria about the slaughtering of Christians, and even though it was fine and churches were showing this in their services, what happened is they removed it. YouTube removed it because it was informative, and that's the last thing they want, is for people to be informed on what's going on, because as long as you're ignorant, they can control you, and that sucks. If we know about the issues there, we know about the Muslims killing Christians and the retaliation that Christians have on Muslims out there, which is not often, but it happens, then we're not able to do anything about it, and they don't want anyone to do anything about it, and it's terrible. It's like with South Africa. With South Africa, I knew white farmers out there that they told me that when you go there, you get a shirt that says, don't shoot, I'm a foreigner. So they know not to shoot you. And when the woman told me, she was a very lovely woman, her and her husband had this farmland, she told me how their like great-grandparents or maybe great-great-grandparents went there and just killed the people of South Africa, and they took over the farmland, and they still do it to this day. And I was thinking, maybe you should all get the hell out of there and give the land back to the people it belongs to. Maybe there's that. And she admitted that they all knew it was immoral and wrong, but they already had the farmland and they were already rich out there, even though it caused suffering and death of people of South Africa. And, this information now, all of a sudden, the news is acting like these things aren't happening. Like whites are not being slaughtered in South Africa. A few months ago when they brought it up, also on the news, in American news, they start denying that happening. And it is so disrespectful to the death and the suffrage of the millions of people in these countries that see the American news lying about how it's not really happening. The thing is it's happening. We need to understand it so we can work on it. Trump is doing a great job stopping wars and creating trade deals with these countries so they'll stop killing each other. And I mean, shit. Now when I think of it, it comes down to that. It comes down to that. But yeah, the news just denying these things are happening. It's like, okay, are they just gonna deny the Holocaust next? Is that where we're going with this? Because right now, the left, the radical left wokeness controlled media is so out of control that they're not left anymore. I'm hearing all these people like Democrats like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan who are now considered Republicans, and it's ridiculous. And what happened for a long time is the right had to move so far to the left, and now the right is basically just in the middle, and everyone else, including far-left Democrats, are considered conservatives now because the left has not gotten so far left. What they've done is they've created what is considered so far left now. The stuff that is considered radical left is just to the point where it's terrorism for the rest of the world. It really is. Like kids being told that they're trans, and Now suicidal rates and everything with kids who think they're trans is going up. Depression, anxiety is through the roof, you know, because the mental health issues that they're putting on kids, programming them with the stuff, is destroying lives. And now these kids are so much into believing that they're a different gender that they made up, that nothing else exists. They don't know any basic government. They don't even know what Prop 50 in California is. Prop 50 in California, they're actually talking about how it's against Trump and protects you from Trump. It has nothing to do with Trump. But people who are so brainwashed into, I'm a stick, you know, I'm a rock, whatever, they're the ones who would just immediately obey this. You know, it's like the people, as soon as someone says that Republicans are racist, it's like, okay, if you're that far gone and that far brainwashed to say Republicans are racist, then there's just, I don't have to listen to anything you say, because I know they've been indoctrinated by radical media for so long. There's no talking to them, you know. There's just no talking to them. I mean, there are people out there talking about how Democrats, they're the party of equality, and you know, as though Democrats are not the party that fought to keep slaves and fought to keep racism. When you look at them today, that belief system, that racism, all this stuff, is still very much there, because to this day they talk about superiority of different races. They talk about privilege points now. Everything to them is about gender and race and ethnicity, and that's the only thing that gives you your value. Not who you are as a human being, not what you're able to create and provide, not you being able to progress in life and be proud of what you're able to do for humanity. No, you are your skin color, your gender, all this other stuff, and you're nothing more than that. That's your only value. And that's the Democrat Party. And they say that Republicans are racist. Blows my fucking mind. Blows my mind. But the media, man, we've got to get media again. I mean, I've been out to Indiana where the government's so corrupt that there are judges out there that every ruling that they did was illegal because they added stuff onto it and had the transcripts changed every time, and then would delete the recording, the state recording that's in their possession. They would destroy it and say that it was a corrupted file because there is so much illegal stuff that they said during that ruling, as far as, I know you're innocent, but I don't care, I don't like your attitude, I'm going to go ahead and say you're guilty anyway. And rewrite the script into that person saying that they admitted to it. And that state is so radical right, like super, super radical right. And one thing I've learned is when you get that far right to the point where it's just so absurd, it's the same thing like the whole, almost the entire rest of the U.S. is right now being so far left that their whole belief system and everything is also absolutely absurd. But we need to get news again. We need news, and we need new journalism. There are so many people who get into journalism and they do no journalism at all. They just join one of these far left, far right groups. You know, like Daily Wire used to be great, and they got more and more radical, just like The Blaze, just like America One Network, just like Fox News. These were all right-wing news sources, and the reason they were right-wing is because they only gave you the news and no political crap. And each one of them did the same thing. Through time, they all became too far right to the point where you could just ignore everything that they say. Now, they weren't as far right like Yahoo, CNN, MSNBC, even ABC now, that they're so far left you could just ignore everything they say. They're not that far right, but they're almost. Well, actually, I would say The Blaze actually got there, now that I think of it, to be honest with you. And to be honest, the Daily Wire did get that far right, now that I think of it, to the point where I signed up for the Daily Wire the last Black Friday a year ago in 2024, and I listened to them for a couple days right when they made changes in the network, and then I didn't cancel it, but I told them, I was like, you guys conned me out of $100, man. I paid for a year for $100, and now you guys are just saying all this crazy stuff, and you know that none of us would have ever paid to listen to this stuff. You're just as bad as CNN and these very like terrorist, like Berkeley is a far left terrorist group college, and that's what the Blaze is. Of course, since they are conservative, they're not into like, hey, kill cops, do this, do that, like the Democrats do, but there is the same amount of misinformation there, a lot. But things have just gotten so bad here without any news, and with all the fake stuff going on, that we are actually denying the massacre going on in other countries. And that once you didn't look at it, you see them dying, and you tell the people here that are able to do something about it that it's not happening, that's because you don't want it to stop. And that's why our media is so evil now.